Hello everyone, welcome to BlendKit 2015 webinar, week 1, Understanding Blended Learning. We do have a poll open up, and thanks to everyone who has started responding. Please use the link below to access this. It is http://bit.ly, and the rest is there for you to follow. It should be noted that you will see this link on the other slides for the next few rounds. So please ensure that you use this to complete the activity. Thanks to everyone who has completed it thus far. I want to say welcome again, and we're coming live from the BlendKit studio located at UCF. I am Rohan Jawala, and with me today is Sue Bauer. We also have our talented production manager, John Pizzo, who is here to ensure that everything goes well. Thank you, John. We have our expert blended learning instructors, Dr. Alicia Janoski and Dr. Dylan Bath, whom I will introduce to you formally later. Today is the first week webinar session for BlendKit 2015 as we wrap up week 1. In week 1, we focused on understanding blended learning. However, I'd like us to look at what has been happening around the globe in relation to blended learning as you go. We have individuals creating Word documents, what do they call that, Sue? Wordle, that is it. That they've created Wordle and they're using it to ensure that they are engaged. We have another individual who has also taken a shot off his desktop where he's working. Very well done, Jessica, on that one. We love that, and we like to post it somewhere else. And the other slide, we have Elizabeth, who is showing off her wonderful tokens of badges. Well done to you. What we want from you is to see more of this coming in. We want you to be part of the BlendKit 2015 journey, or we want you to show aspect of your campus, what you're doing there. Let us see these photographs, and you can do this by posting your pictures or emailing us your pictures to blendkit@ucf.edu, and you can do that at flickr.com, Twitter, and also you must ensure that you put BlendKit in the line to ensure that it comes to us. But what is taking place is that we are on a learning journey. As of today, 9:20 a.m., we are well over 2,000 people, and this is global. So this is indeed a wonderful occasion. We're indeed developing to be a learning community. Well done. You should take this opportunity to engage and network with others across the globe. As you can see from the mapping that we have created, BlendKit 2015, and I call it the BlendKit map, we have participants from Europe, North and South America, Australia, and from the Caribbean, Asia. All these individuals are working on blended courses. We're off to a pretty good start, I would say, right, Sue? Yes, she's nodding over there. In our 5-week journey together, we'll explore blended learning. Now, badges and assignments. We have a lot of people posting assignments over the weekend. Sue and I were talking this morning along with a team of helpers, and we're trying to play catch up with the assignments. So don't panic. We haven't done much grading this morning because we were preparing, but we will catch up very shortly. So don't worry about that. We do have, and thanks again for your poll information that you did submit to us, and please do keep coming using the poll to get the information to us rather. And we wanted to give you some initial feedback regarding this. And the information is still coming in the last time I looked, but from the most up-to-date information, this is what we have. And how much time do you plan to allocate to face-to-face? And we have mixed responses here. 21% said they'll give more than 50% to that component. Another over 50% say they would allocate 21%, and another thing they would say 21% indicated that they would allocate 50% or less, and other individuals 4% did not have at a point at that time. The other poll question asked, which of the following course components do you plan to include in the face-to-face portion of your blended course? And let me also state that individuals were able to give more than one responses to this question. 59 individuals polled that they would do lectures. Another 74% rather indicated small group discussions. Quiz and exams were 32. Assignment submission 29. Others said 22. And instructor related question and answer 78. So we do have some mixed responses, and I guess this is coming based on your perspective and what aspect or course you're designing. And again, we were able to solicit more than one option for this question. Which of the following course components do you plan to include in the online portion of your blended courses? And individuals said content presentation, that was 82%, discussion 72%, quizzes and exams 71%, assignment submission 76%, instructor related question and answer 49%, and other 10%. So we do have mixed responses taking place here. As we hear about our guest presenters today, please listen to their thoughts and in relation to the processes and the decisions they make in regard to selecting content and moving towards a face-to-face component as well as online elements. Moving to the panel, you will have opportunity to ask questions. However, you have to use the option created, and I'm showing this slide now. Option 1, you need to click there on your screen that you'd be seeing now presently, and then you'll have a drop-down selection, and you're going to click on Q&A rather, and that will take you to a place that you can ask your questions. However, we will start with a question submitted via the Google Doc from last week as the basis for our mini panel discussion. If you think of a question, feel free to post in the area I have given or showed you a while ago. Now let's get started. Please allow me to introduce to you Dr. Dylan Bath from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and Dr. Alicia Janoski from the University of Central Florida. Dr. Alicia Janoski is an assistant chair and works in the psychology department at the University of Central Florida. Alicia has earned several accolades for teaching online at UCF. Dr. Dylan Bath is the interim associate director of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Learning Technology Center, where he coordinates the faculty development program for online and blended teaching. Welcome to you both. Now I'm going to start with Dylan. And what will happen is that Dylan will respond, and then Alicia will give her comment on the question, and then we will do that in reverse order. Let's begin. My first question. If I move part of my course online, how can I make it clear to the students that they are expected to do pre-reading or pre-class activities online in order to actively participate in deeper learning during face-to-face time?
So I'm up, right? This is Dylan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think this is a fantastic question. The way that I tend to think of this is the short answer is to bring something to class. I know other instructors have used things like online quizzes to have their students to kind of demonstrate that they have done the online activities, which may include readings or other content, consumption. And I tend to have my students bring in some sort of reading response to class, something that they bring in that demonstrates that they have that learning, and then we can then use those materials to move into more activities, I guess. So that would be my my first, initial impression on that.
All right, over to Alicia.
I agree. Bringing something in can be useful. I've done more that I've had them, I teach very large classes, so I've asked them to do things online like take a quiz or respond to a discussion post or simply move as if everyone has done it, and if they haven't, then they're going to quickly realize that they're behind and they're going to have to catch up the next time. In one of my stat courses, for example, they need to watch some videos on how to use our statistics package. They come in and it's expected that they know how to do it. If they don't, they're going to get a 0 for that day, and the next time they're not going to make that same mistake.
Thank you very much. Alicia, thanks for that response. I'm going to ask you the next question. Dylan will follow by after you finish responding. Faculty that request help with instructional design may want to use tools that are inappropriate for content. What are the best methods to help them rethink how to present their content?
That's a tricky question because I think faculty are defensive by nature. So I think it's important to recognize that going in, but to also appreciate that they are the content experts in that particular environment, and you're the expert in the best way to bring that content to students in different modalities. So perhaps have the discussion of, I see where it is you're trying to go with this. Here are the problems with using this particular tool that you're thinking of, but this might be a better one. Let's talk about how that might work and why it may or may not help you reach your goal.
Dylan, over to you. Do you want to add to that, please?
Yeah, I would add, I think that's a great response, and I would also just mention a couple of things that we do in our faculty development program. One is we have a table that we provide to all participants that talk about the different kinds of tools, what the advantages are, what the use cases are for them. And we, as part of the program, we have an activity in which they're asked to identify within a particular learning module which of these tools would be best for what it is they're doing. So really having our own tool set for them to help them make that decision. And I also think it helps to have, in terms of a faculty development perspective, to have some examples in your own materials that you have of different ways of providing content so that they can see the array, they can see potentially the purpose behind why you chose those different things. So being able to have those specific examples, I think, can be very helpful in helping them guide them through that process.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dylan, for that. Thank you very much, Dylan, for that. I'm going to ask you the next question, so keep your mic on. And it has to do with ownership of the work. That is an issue that many faculty consider. If I move part of my course online and set assignments to be done online, how can I be reasonably certain that the work done is by my student?
This is a question that we commonly receive from instructors who are moving either online or into the blended format, and it's a very, we totally understand where this is coming from. One thing that we often think about is, well, how much more certainty do you need that they're doing this online work than they would be doing, say, just regular homework in an online or a face-to-face course, I should say. And there are some tools that are available, usually through LMSs. We recommend, if we're talking about a quiz type situation, having students take quizzes in which they're randomized, that they are, because I think one of the issues here is whether or not students are also consulting with one another. That's one issue of cheating. I think another is that having, say, a student's accountant brother come into a course and take all of those quizzes. And I think that aside from having more expensive tools that would help identify people as they're taking those quizzes or the kind of online materials, I think things within the LMS can really help with that. And from a sort of a writing teacher perspective, getting to know your students in smaller classes can help with that as well. You can kind of see if students' behavior is shifting. But in terms of one of Alicia's larger classes, I'm not sure. Maybe she has some advice there.
Run.
Yeah.
I agree that there's something about face-to-face classes, I think, that makes faculty feel that we are more in control of academic integrity issues than maybe we really are. Having them do any kind of homework assignment, we can't know what they're actually doing or what they're not doing. If you're doing writing assignments, Turnitin is useful to help against things like plagiarism or multiple students turning in the same or very similar assignments. But again, you can't really know who wrote it to begin with. I know there are some online proctoring tools that are being tested here, and that there are other ones that are available. But I would also say the beauty of a blended classroom is if you're really freaked out about that, then do your major point assessments during some of your face-to-face time and do some more, I don't want to call it busy work, but practice or smaller quizzes in the online environment where if they're collaborating together, okay, but that's not going to be the crux of their grade.
Thank you very much, Alicia. I'll ask you the next question, Alicia.
Okay.
What are the challenges of teaching a blended course, and what are the best practices for dealing with these challenges?
I think we've talked about two of them that are big ones of academic integrity, and the other one just slipped my mind because I'm old. What was the other one? I don't remember, but I'm sure you do, so I'm just going to go with that. I think trying to decide what you're going to put online can sometimes be a challenge. I think one of the things I've struggled with is I almost make my courses too intensive when they're blended because I feel like, oh, they should be doing all this stuff online that I would never expect face-to-face or online students to do, coupled with what they're going to do for me face-to-face. So I think kind of holding back on that is also useful. And in terms of best practices for dealing with that problem, what I try to do is think, what's a reasonable amount of reading? What's a reasonable amount of work? How does this compare if I was going to do this face-to-face or online? And try to bring those into alignment a little bit more than, ooh, this is a cool link that they should go out to too while they're at it.
Yeah, sure. I agree that workload for both you and as an instructor and students is one of the big challenges in a blended course because it's so easy to say, I want to do everything. To really utilize the two different modes for what they're sort of best at. And I would also add that from my perspective, sort of managing student expectations around a blended course. At UWM, we do have a number of courses on campus, but often the ones that I'm teaching tend to be students are in their first couple of years, and so they haven't taken a blended course, and so it scares them in some ways even more than maybe an online course because they think they know what that is. So approaching it, giving them plenty of material up front, having a conversation, the first day of class, being very clear about with all the materials, including a syllabus and course schedule, of what they need to do to be successful in this class and really what the benefits are to a blended learning experience, I think can really help mitigate those fears. And then also trying to help make the two modes feel like it's a single course through integration. That's another challenge, and I think there are some practices going each way to make that effective, but those are really some of the challenges that I think I've faced.
Thank you very much, Dylan. I'll ask you the next question. How do students deal with change in the blended environment? And I would like you to focus your response on moving from face-to-face to a blended course design.
Well, I think students handle it as well as an instructor, you're able to provide guidance around that. And something that I really try to do, I think a subtext of this question is maybe change even within the course structure. So about flexibility. If you, one of the advantages of a blended course, I think, is there's a lot more flexibility in its design, and sometimes needing to make changes throughout the semester can be something that would be very beneficial to students, but it could freak them out. So I tend to, you know, in all the materials that I have, the weekly news announcements, in-class reminders, in you know, my syllabus, all of these things, outlining, I think, the importance of what the blended mode has to offer. I would also add that providing several evaluation points throughout the semester, even more than just a midterm and a final survey about the course, I think is good. I do 4 surveys throughout my class, and I ask all sorts of questions that vary depending on where we are at in the semester, and just to get touch points. And what I like about doing it in a blended class is then I come into the face-to-face session and say, okay, this is what I'm reading here. Is there any further conversation? We usually have good conversations around how the course can change a little bit to make it meet their needs.
Ditto. And it was, oh, I just slipped my mind again. Oh, it was making sure they did the work before they came in. Yes. Okay. I gained back some IQ points. I'm very excited. I think students go into mixed mode classes. It's probably changing a bit as they're becoming more popular in K through 12. But coming in, I often have to remind them that that doesn't mean that there's less work, and trying to manage those expectations that, oh, if I just show up for the face-to-face meetings, then that's sufficient. So again, trying to make sure that they pay attention to what they're responsible for, being very clear into how, because mixed mode courses are so different from one to another, to make sure that they understand how this course is going to run would be important also, and to try not to change too much about how that structure would go. What we cover in any one class might be different, but what they're responsible for online versus face-to-face, I think, is important to be consistent for their benefit.
Thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to Sue at this point. Sue?
Great. Hey, thanks, Alicia. Thanks, Dylan, and thanks. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much, Alicia and Dylan. I'm actually going to turn it over to the Q&A board a little bit. We have just a few minutes, and I wanted to make sure we were able to touch some of those questions that you've been posting. So first, thank you for your input as we're talking to our wonderful guests. The first question I have, and I think I'm going to direct it to Dylan because it seems to be in regards to his answer to number 2, but I'll open it up to Alicia afterwards if she also wants to give us any feedback. And it was, can it also be helpful for you to show faculty maybe some bad examples of inappropriate tool usage?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think there are plenty of examples out there too where you can really show what works and doesn't work. One thing that this example doesn't have to do with content delivery, but something that we do in our program is we will provide 2 different prompts for an online asynchronous discussion forum and have a conversation around what are the strengths and weaknesses of each in the prompts from a student perspective. And one of them tends to be a little bit worse than the other, but it elicits, I think, a really good, that bad example, a good conversation around then what makes it effective, and you know, what can you do in your classes to do that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Excuse me. Thanks, Dylan. Alicia, did you want to add anything to that?
I agree. I know that one of the things that we've done in faculty training has been to show good and bad examples of classes and techniques, let students experience it also so they see why it doesn't work, even though in theory it might seem like a good idea.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. We do have other questions that have been posted to the QA area, but that closes out today's guest panel. We'll take those questions that you've posted and we will forward them on to Dylan and Alicia, and we'll try to get some answers back to you guys inside the course. So thank you. As we wrap up today's webinar, we want to touch base on just some housekeeping items before we let you go. First, while the majority of you have told us that you're excuse me, getting a lot out of BlendKit 2015 and that you're clear on how you're supposed to be engaging with the course, we did receive some comments to our first week's anonymous feedback form and some of the other interactions that indicate that some of you are finding the format of the BlendKit 2015 hard to connect with and that you're just not sure where you're supposed to start. And this is an important issue, so I just kind of want to address it briefly in our time here together. As a reminder, this is a professional development experience designed for flexibility, and unlike a 4-credit college class that we've been discussing here today, there are no mandated assignments or grades. Also, it might be confusing that there are both public pages and pages within the Canvas course. So if you're getting lost between these two sites, go ahead and stick with just the Canvas course. Everything that you need is inside Canvas. And the reason that you're seeing many of the course resources on the BlendKit website is because these materials are going to be available to you once the course closes. So if anything, just kind of make sure you bookmark that website outside of Canvas. Also, when you're in Canvas, you want to make sure that you're clicking on the left menu to the modules area. The week's learning activities is the first item that you're going to see under each week's module heading. And in addition, you will find an assignment for each activity there. And just remember, these activities are optional, so it's really up to you to select the activities that are going to meet your learning needs. We're also providing guidance to you in our weekly announcements, some reminders, and again, through the learning activities. We're going to go ahead and switch the slides. If you have any questions and you run into any difficulties or you're just not sure how you can make the BlendKit 2015 course work best for you at any point, please message us inside Canvas or shoot us an email, blendkit@ucf.edu. We would love to hear from you and see what we can do to help you out. Actually, speaking of hearing from you, the next slide just talks a little bit about some of the emails and tweets that we've seen throughout the week. Okay, some of you have asked, well, what do I need to do to complete this course? And remember, that level of participation is really up to you. You have to set those expectations. As far as the readings go, we've not got weeks 1 and 2 available. In the discussions area, we've got some great communities going. Please feel free to keep posting to those areas, and also remember that you can create your own discussion topic. I know we've had a lot of K through 12 discussions going on, so if you want to get involved with those, head over to this discussion area and check those out. Also, the social networking. That participation is up to you. I know we have participants who have blogs and wikis and Twitter accounts, and that's great. Some of you aren't as happy in that platform, and that's okay too. You pick what's going to be comfortable for you. We also gave you the week 1 feedback form, and we appreciate those of you who were able to fill that out. Most of you said that the readings were really helpful. You liked doing the DIY projects that were assigned. Some of you said you still wanted a little bit of clarification on the badging and the certificate options. I would recommend, if you haven't had a chance to see the orientation webinar, that you try to go back and review that. After reviewing that, again, if you have any questions, please shoot us an email or reach out to us somehow, and we'll make sure to get back to you. You said that it took about 1 to 3 hours to complete. There were quite a few that also said it took between 4 and 6, but most of you said between 1 and 3. The DIY activities and templates you said were useful. Okay, grading. We are making progress. Hopefully some of you have gotten some grades back. We are manually viewing and scoring each of the submissions. We do monitor it over the weekend, but we're not as actively grading as we are here Monday through Friday. We now have 2,234 participants. So even since this PowerPoint was updated this morning, we've raised our numbers. So please just kind of keep that in mind as we go through. All right, if you didn't have a chance to fill out the feedback form, please go ahead and do that. It is still up and it's still open and will be. We really appreciate that. And also the demographic survey. I was teasing Rohan this morning saying that we've got every continent represented except Antarctica. So if anybody knows anybody down there with internet connection, try to plug it. All right. I can't stress again to go ahead and complete the week 1 feedback form. As I mentioned in the orientation session, this kind of open online course is something that will be continuously a work in progress. It's far from perfect. Your feedback can help ensure that we meet the needs of all of our participants. You can see the URL, the bit.ly URL that's up there, but you can just go ahead and head into the modules area of the course, down to the module 01 section, and complete the feedback form from a link that's there. Later today, you'll be receiving an announcement message from us with some guidance on how, excuse me, on getting the most out of week 2. During week 2, our focus will be on interactions, possibilities available in the blended learning courses, and you'll have the opportunity to receive some help in getting hands-on with making web versions of your course documents suitable for sharing with others online. As you remember, if you'd like to proceed in a linear way through the course, you will probably find the module page and the weekly table of contents helpful. You may access the Week 02 module via Canvas by clicking on Modules, and you may choose Week 02 Activities. You can also access this from either the BlendKit schedule page or the Learning Activities page. And again, remember, that's out on the BlendKit site. Okay, for next week, in next week's webinar, we are going to be joined by the University of North Texas. We will have Dr. Laura Pasquini, and from the University of Central Florida, we will have Dr. Leslie D'Amato Cubiet. She can help me maybe pronounce that better next week, but sorry. So just a reminder that this is the webinar that is closing our week 1, and we are going to be working from here on out on week 2. And again, remember, we have flexibility in the due date. So if you didn't quite get everything done in week 1, that's fine. Please go ahead and just kind of go at your pace and get that completed and submitted. Again, thanks very much for participating with us today in today's session. Thank you again to our guests, Alicia Janowski and Dylan Barth, and also John, thank you so much for your technical support. And don't forget to celebrate all our accomplishments this week with the BlendKit 2015. Have a great week, and goodbye, everybody.